Hello and welcome. This is Vanessa Graulich, and today we're going to do the math behind the income approach. So why do we use the income approach? The income approach basically is, appraisers can use this method to calculate the value of a building or to evaluate an asset based on the following math that we're about to do right here. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to give you an example of how an appraiser, right, will basically evaluate. And again, this is a very simple example. I don't have the softwares and I'm not an appraiser, but this is a way how investors, if they want to evaluate, in a simple manner, to put it that way, or kind of like approximate what will be the value of the building, and they can figure out if they're making the right decision or not, either to invest in real estate or, if they see that the numbers do not work, maybe they choose another investment. I don't know, stock market, bonds, Bitcoin. Don't do Bitcoin. No, I'm kidding. I don't know anything about Bitcoin, but I just don't feel comfortable with Bitcoin yet because whatever. We'll do another podcast about that. So now what's going to happen? Let's go ahead and share the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, share the screen. And now, right here, I made this Excel sheet just to illustrate, basically, if you have like a 10 building unit, right, and you're an investor, and you're like, okay, I want to figure it out how much money, this building actually, costs, and how much rate of return I'm going to have if I purchase this building. Well, let's first start with the potential gross income. The potential gross income is basically going to be all the rents, right? The possible rents, or the potential, basically what it is, or the potential income that you can get. It's called gross because we're not deducting anything else. So if I do 1,000, let's say that you have a 10 building unit and each unit is $1,000 rent. So that's what I do, 1,000 times 10 times 12. This is going to be my potential gross income, the rent times 10 units times 12 months. Now, other income can maybe be, let's say that you have a 10 building, like a 10 unit building, and you have your little laundromat, and every month, you get like $300 from basically like people going and doing, their laundry there. And if you get these $300, let's say that you get them weekly, that's what I do, 300 weekly times 4 weeks times 12. Again, this is just an estimate, just to a simple example. I have to show you basically the income approach. Now, what is the vacancy and other losses, right? Well, vacancy and other losses, what is going to be is just sometimes you're going to have a building that is not going to be occupied 100% of the time. So the vacancy rate is just going to be how many units historically you have vacant divided by, I'm going to say historically, like, it could be in the last year. Let's say that, you show in your documents and you're like, look, most of the time out of the 10 units, 3 are vacant. So that's how you get your vacancy rate. You do 3, which is vacant units, divided by units, 3 divided by 10. If you had 8 units vacant, then your rate will be 8 over 10. The higher the vacant rate, obviously, the worse for the investor, because that means that your potential gross income is not going to be 120,000. This is the reason why I put this in red, because vacancy rate is important to consider, because you always have to make sure that you consider the, basically 3 scenarios: the good, the average, and the worst, to put it that way. Now, I also added $10,000 on legal damages, because you might have to foreclosure this person. You might have to have a retainer, with a lawyer, a real estate lawyer. And you want to make sure that, you consider legal costs, because when you deal with tenants, that's basically going to be an expense that you might have. Someone doesn't want to leave, or I don't know, any, liability problem that you can find out can happen there. Now, this is going to give me the effective gross income. All what I do is potential gross income plus the other income minus the vacancy and other losses. Remember, we put $10,000 for legal. Basically, your effective gross income is going to be $88,400 for this example. From there, you need to ask, well, wait, I'm going to have expenses, right? So look at this. Your fixed expenses are going to include your real estate taxes and your insurance. This is why when you're going to look for properties, you need to go ahead and have a really good insurance company, right? Be like, listen, is this in a flood area? What is the insurance that I have? How much do I have to put? And again, I just put a simple example. I'm pretty sure insurance is going to be higher on this property. But I just said, okay, you know what? I'm going to put $3,000 just, for insurance. And I'm going to put $3,500 for taxes. Now, because the building is so big, let's actually make this insurance a little bit higher. So I don't know, I'm going to make the insurance $12,000, which it could happen, especially in Florida. And let's just put $6,000 in taxes. Let's just make it a little bit more realistic. Beautiful. Now, the variable expenses are going to be what? Utilities, garbage removal, maintenance, and management. Now, I put $500 a month. Remember, the utilities are not going to be the utilities of the whole building. Your utilities are going to be for like the common areas, right? Like the water to do the grass, the water that you're going to be using, to do that little machine area with the washer and the dryer. Basically, maintenance. You might have to pay like a property management company. So let's actually increase this to $1,000. And the reason why I'm showing you how I can increase this is how you see how the value using the income approach right here is going down, because you're basically estimating the expenses you're going to have. Then you're going to have reserves and replacement. Now, if you have a huge building, you're going to have air conditioning, heating systems, carpeting, appliances. I think that just for this estimation, I'm going to actually just put a reserve of $15,000. Why? Because I think air conditioning, especially if you're like, close to the water, is going to be expensive. And I think $50,000, honestly, is not even that enough when you're talking to a 10 unit building. But this is just, again, an illustrative example. That's it. So from there, you do 88, right? Minus 18, minus 12, minus 15. So your net operating income is actually $43,400. From there, you're going to have what is called the cap rate. The cap rate is basically determined by the appraiser. And what he does is that he grabs a bunch of properties that they were sold, in the last, I guess, I'm not sure what is the period that they use, but let's say in the last year, 6 months. The closer, he's basically going, or he or she, the appraiser is basically going to try to figure out what is the cap rate by just evaluating the last closings. And then he says, okay, the cap rate is 10%. By the way, this cap rate it can be objective, but as you can see, it's also subjective. What does that mean? The cap rate can change the cap rate. So you should always choose a range of a cap rate, maybe between 8 to 12%, and do your calculations with different type of rates, because that will basically give the investor different scenarios. From an 8% to a 10%, the value is going to change completely. Finally, so look, if I put, let's say that I put 8%, look how this value is going to go up. Now, if I put 12%, look how the value is going to go down. Now, again, this is the reason why I'm just going to put an estimate of 10%. And then what I do, the income approach, I just basically do net operating income divided by the cap rate. Bingo. That's how you get your value using the income approach. Is this approach something that you should know? Yes, you should understand what is the gross income, what expenses you're going to have, especially what are going to be your taxes, what's going to be your insurance. This is when your sales associate, your real estate consultant needs to make sure that they start making phone calls, they start looking for records, because this is basically going to help on the negotiation part. Because if the building, for any reason, let's say that you did this, valuation, and the guy is asking for $1 million, or the girl's asking for $1 million, right? And, the building looks incredible, but you do your math and you're like, wow, not including the mortgage. Remember, you're not even including a mortgage here. You're just assuming that you're just, putting all the money there to put it away. Then you cannot think about it, and you're like, wow, maybe this investment is not for me. Maybe I should look for something else. Or you can use it as a negotiation tool and you say, look, based on the, you know, on the information that you have provided me, you have a really high vacant rate. Also, your fixed expenses are extremely high. So, you know, fixed expenses are not expenses that you can actually, they're sticky, right? Like they say, because you cannot get rid of them in the long term. It's not like a variable expense that you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this myself and I'm gonna get rid of the maintenance guy. And then that way, you know, I can cut some payroll expenses, to put it away. So I hope with this example, you kind of understand the math that goes beyond evaluation when you want to do like a valuation, or like trying to figure out, is this a good, you know, should I do this? Should I not do this? And it will kind of give the investor like a, you know, like an idea of what to expect if this is their first time buying maybe not a 10 building unit. Maybe they won the lottery and they want a 10 building unit, but it could also be used, you know, for like when you have like a 4 unit or you have like a duplex. Basic math, plus and minus. However, I think that the success of an investor is going to be in how well his or her estimations are, again, on the good and the bad scenarios. Like, for example, right now with COVID, that's a perfect example. You're going to have maybe your potential gross income, you know, decrease tremendously because your tenants, you know, have lost their job and all that. So as you can see here, all this can change. Maybe you bought this property in 2020 in January, you know, and it looked incredible. And then COVID happened, and then obviously things happen. We know what the S word happens all the time. But it is always important to be prepared and evaluate your choices. So I hope with this video, you see the importance of basically doing analysis and doing estimations. So when you do an investment, you feel a little bit less nervous, right? That little stomach it's not that bad. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Vanessa Graulich, and I'll see you next time.